Hello, good morning. It's Saturday, the 19th of May 2012, and you're welcome to Newsfile, your weekly news analysis show on Joy 99.7 FM and on the Joy News channel on Multi TV. Here, we go behind the major headlines and try to do an intelligent analysis of the key issues driving the actors and the stories, and we explore the best ways to deal with the major stories that would be considered in the near future. This week, on the road to election 2012, former President Rawlings, just as the battle over the NDC's umbrella emblem seemed to be taking a backseat, has himself now decided to get more specific with some of his worries about the government. He, for instance, says at the recent 30th anniversary of the 31st December Women's Movement that the is now having to battle between traitors and enemies. He goes on to argue that the enemies, the traitors, I beg your pardon, are now involved in an unprecedented monetization of the political space. He's now declared, perhaps boldly, that he wants to take the party back from the traitors within. Who are the traitors? Some say he should put up names and perhaps specific allegations so that people can defend themselves or be seen as guilty. Or maybe His Excellency should respectfully shut up. Should the party ignore his increasingly harsh commentary or still work to resolve the differences? My guest will help us with some analysis this morning on Newsfile. Also this morning, I'm sure you've noticed that in the week just gone by, a number of reports came out. First, the Mo Ibrahim Index for 2011 for African governance was published. Ghana, for the second time, has been adjudged as the 7th best governed country in Africa, scoring 66 out of 100 marks and coming after Namibia. There are questions as to whether or not it's a good job done, pat ourselves on the back, or we should be worried that we don't seem to be making progress in the improvement of our governance. Also this week, the Media Foundation for West Africa published another report on those using foul language in the political arena. The MPP comes in as guilty one more time. They say they'll take it in good faith again, even after their General Secretary had sought to challenge that. But what's the use of taking it in good faith if it's not translating into an improvement? And then finally this morning, we'll spend some time on the Right to Information Bill. It was back in the spotlight this week. In the public space, civil society organizations, press organizations had cause to complain about the leadership of Parliament and perhaps government not being very quick with that agenda. But Majority Leader Cletus Avoka has explained that there are a number of processes that need to be settled first. How big a deal is the RTI bill? Should Parliament and perhaps government show more leadership and commitment to that bill? Or should we expect the civil society organizations and other interested persons to be the ones to champion this? You can be a part of our show when you send us a text 1422 across networks or 1760 across networks. If you're listening beyond the borders of our nation, I encourage you to send us an email. It's newsfile@myjoyonline.com. If you're on Facebook as well, facebook.com/joy997. If you're following me on Twitter, I tweet at KO Nkrumah. You can share your thoughts on that platform as well. We'll factor them into our conversations. Let me remind you of the key subjects that we are discussing this morning. This week just gone by, while it seemed as though the argument over the ownership of the umbrella emblem was taking a backseat, the former president decided to get a bit more specific with some of his comments. He says now he has to battle between enemies and traitors, and that the traitors are now involved in unprecedented monetization of the political space. He says, perhaps boldly than ever, that the party needs to be taken back from the traitors within. A few questions come up. Who are the traitors? Will the former president perhaps be kind enough to put out names and specific allegations so that these persons can also have the opportunity to either defend themselves or be seen as guilty instead of a cloud that seems to hang over some unknown persons? Some say he should put up or respectfully shut up. Should the party ignore his increasingly harsh commentary or still work to resolve the differences? That's the very first subject we are dealing with. And then we'll talk about reports. The Mo Ibrahim 2012 Governance Index is out. Ghana remained 7th. We'll examine that. The Media Foundation for West Africa report for week 3, as they begin to capture commentary in the political space, fingers the NPP are still using abrasive language. Again, they say they'll take it in good faith. What's the use of taking it in good faith if it's not translating into results? And then we'll talk about Right to the Information Bill. What's happening to it? Should the leadership of Parliament and maybe government be held more responsible for the failure to pass it quickly? Or maybe it's the civil society organizations and the media who should take more interest in that. Let me introduce my guest to you. To my extreme left, the Honorable Kojo Edwasare is Member of Parliament for the Adenta constituency. Forgive me if you hear me calling him Swagger at any point in time. Chief, good morning. Welcome. Nana Kumia is the Director of Communications in the New Patriotic Party. Nana, thank you for joining us this morning. To my right, Murtala Mohammed is the Deputy National Coordinator of the NYEP. He's a member of the Government Communication Team, and he's hoping to be the NDC Member of Parliament for the Nantong constituency. Murtala, welcome. And Egbert Fable is a lawyer and Managing Editor of the Ghanaian Observer newspaper. You'll notice that he sits in a seat usually occupied by Abdul Malik Kweku Bako, who will be away for the next 2 weeks, this week and next week. But the interesting thing is that, you know, usually we capture Kweku's documents for you. Egbert has an iPad, so we will be capturing a good chunk of the documents that he will be scrolling up for us. Mr. Edwasare, I will start with you. Who are the traitors? Do we know now who are the traitors? Is it fair to the supposed traitors if we don't know who they are and what they've done so that maybe they can defend themselves or be seen as guilty? Or maybe we all should be moving away from the Rawlings saga. What do you think?
Kojo, thanks for the opportunity. And I want to say good morning to our viewers and listeners. This is a rather a particular subject that usually gets me emotional because, as I said last week, if you remember, when we were discussing the issue about claims to the logo, we all thought that, yes, the legal team of the party had started some consultations to find a way to sort out the issue regarding the logo. Then we all heard that there was going to be a 15th May commemoration of a sort. Then thereafter, we also heard that our founder this time was, I think, the guest of honor and addressed the gathering. And I had the occasion to read through the statement that, let me say, the full statement of that address. And honestly, I wasn't surprised.
And for those who may not have read it, let me just play back some bits of that statement for our common benefit as we get into the discussions.
Some people are so justified in saying that those in office are not genuine-minded people. They do not have the NDC spirit. They are not NDC-hearted people and want to destroy the party in favor of something else. And so long as they hold on to power, and with some of our supporters persistently refusing to see the truth and what should have been done, then it becomes difficult to take back our party. Ladies and gentlemen, we hear promises of great developmental policies and achievements that will come our way if we vote in certain directions. But the question is, which of these parties can restore our values? Ladies and gentlemen, we have always won our elections on the power of integrity. Now that they have chosen to monetize everything, how much of a chance do they have, having departed from the weapon and the values that sustained our political success? We have always had to fight against one enemy or opposition. If they can behave in a civil way, it will be fair to call them opposition. But seeing how they rounded up and jailed innocent people, terrorized and killed others, can we be wrong to sometimes describe them as enemies? This time, however, we are fighting against two enemies. One is the perceived enemy, and the other one, the traitor. Ladies and gentlemen, listen. carefully. We've always fought one enemy or perceived enemy, but this time we're fighting two, and one is the traitor. The question is that we cannot fight both at the same time, and therefore one has to go. Is it the opposition that has to go, or is it the traitor? It's a question Ghanaians will answer.
Mr. Drasai.
Before I continue, I'd like to read from Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power, the 48 Laws of Power. And I'll want to read law number 41. And it says, avoid stepping into a great man's shoes. And what it says here is that what happens first always appears better and more original than what comes after. If you succeed a great man or have a famous parent, you will have to accomplish double their achievements to outshine them. Do not get lost in their shadow or stuck in a past not of your own making. Establish your own name and identity by changing course. Slay the overbearing father, disparage his legacy, and gain power by shining in your own way. Unquote. Kojo, I am a bit saddened, or I've been saddened by the statement that the former president made. And the very part that I want to start with is, I think, the third paragraph, or the second one. And I quote again this time. He says, what, 30 years ago, as Ghana pursued the agenda of stopping the decay that had engulfed the country and brought it on its knees, we lived in a man's world. And that is my emphasis, a man's world. And many believed the journey of transformation was a job too challenging for our women. However, one young woman, with the able support of like-minded friends and colleagues, decided the time had come for women to take active and significant part in the socio-economic development of Ghana. I'll leave it there. One will quickly want to ask, what caused the women to take the back seat? What happened? How did the women end up taking the back seat? Only for one woman to come out.
A certain platform and decide, as for this platform, we can use this kind of language and so on. So we are happy they are giving their instances, and we'll be working to improve it. And we encourage them to do the work that they do. The Mo Ibrahim thing, it says that we are 7th in Africa. Is it 7th?
Yeah.
7th position.
Yeah.
And looks like we've always been at the 7th position for quite a while.
2 years in a row.
Yeah, but we're 7th even in. I have the Mo Ibrahim, the graph of the index here, and you realize that this time we scored 67 on the index, and we placed 7th. And in 2008, for example, we actually scored 70 on the index, and we still placed 7th in that year. And we actually fell between 2009 and 2010. We fell from 66 on the index to 65 in 2010. And then we've risen one more point from 65 to 67 in 2011. But our highest score was actually in 2008, where we scored 70 on the Mo Ibrahim index. And I heard my NDC brothers talking about that this is an evidence that the better agenda is an unprecedented gargantuan. All of those, even though the founder of the party himself says that this is the most inept government that has ever come in the Fourth Republic. They are saying that, yeah, this shows that our gargantuan unprecedented achievements and are on course. You know, I don't know why they like to tickle themselves and laugh. Look, President Kufuor, if we're going to talk about some international recognition as the test of how well we are doing, President Kufuor, this G8 summit, he went to the G8 summit 4 times. He was at Gleneagles in Scotland. He was at the Sea Island in the USA. He was at the G8 summit in Japan. He was at the G8 summit in Germany. Over the 8-year period, President Kufuor went to 4 G8 summits. Never happened to any president in Africa. Never. This is what we call unprecedented. Never happened. 4 times. In 8 years. So this G8 summit that in 4 years, Mills has been invited once, and we have been told that this is gargantuan and we should all laugh and sink. I mean, it's a joke. Now, talk about state visit. The last time the President Mills went on an official visit to the United States, he's going to meet Obama. It's a recognition that the gargantuan achievements were on course. I mean, what is unprecedented about what is unprecedented and gargantuan about an official visit to the States, and then you get invited to the White House? President Kufuor went on a state visit, which is the highest level of recognition, not an official visit, where you go and do your own business and then you get a 2-hour meeting with the president. A state visit, you are invited officially to visit the country. And the pomp, the pageantry, the honor is all laid out, including the trooping of the colors and the 21 guns. President Kufuor was invited on a state visit.
So that means our governance credentials are dwindling?
No, so I'm saying that...
Because I'm sure there are those who argue that, listen, when it comes to these state visits and, you know, a G8 summit, sometimes, you know, the countries that do the invitation do it for their own political parochial interest. And regardless of who wants to pat himself on the back, it doesn't really mean that governance has improved. I don't know what you make of that argument.
No, I agree with you. But if these, my brothers and sisters, want to say that for them it's an affirmation of the gargantuan, unprecedented achievements, I'm saying to them that then what happened with President Kufuor were even more gargantuan, because he did not go on official visits. He went on state visits. He did not go on one G8 summit. He was invited to 4 G8 summits. You know, he was invited to state visits to the UK, to France, to Japan. When Sarkozy got into power in 2007, less than 2 weeks, he invited President Kufuor on a state visit and all of that. So these, my brothers and sisters, in the end, they must be measured. I mean, it is good for all of us if our president goes to G8, but it's following a trend that has been set. But when they come out and tell us that, this is a big deal, the Mo Ibrahim, this is a big deal, then we'll tell them that no. Because the trend, a far better record has been set. And we would like them to take notice of it. Now, when you look at the details of the Mo Ibrahim, Kojo, you realize that if you look at you went beyond the ranking, the 7th position, and actually went into the subsectors. It paints a picture that is not very flattering. If you take accountability, for example, Ghana's ranking on accountability, it says that accountability of public officials, for example, we ranked number 11, the same position as Nigeria, Liberia, Sudan, Cote d'Ivoire, Rwanda, and Sierra Leone. So accountability of public officials were on the same rank as Nigeria and Liberia and so on. Corruption in government, we ranked number 9, the same as Rwanda and Seychelles. You take personal safety, domestic political persecution, we ranked number 18th. We were worse than Burkina Faso and Sierra Leone, domestic political persecution. Political terror, we ranked number 16th, same as Liberia, Congo, and Togo.
Perhaps as you are doing this, can you compare, a trend for us, maybe the year before, 2 years before, so that we can tell whether we are doing better on those indicators or we are not doing better.
On the general ranking, the summary, we are the same level. But I'm saying that if you went beyond the general ranking and went into indices, so I'm saying that there's a worrying trend that on political terror, for example, that Ghana can be on the same level as Liberia, Congo, and Togo, and that on political terror, Sierra Leone and Burkina Faso are doing better than Ghana. For me, I'm worried, because these are countries that we don't consider to be doing
what does it mean when they say political terror?
Can
what
I
does
finish?
it mean?
Now, I'm just telling you, that is what it is. They say political terror. And they say that we are worse than Sierra Leone and Burkina Faso. If you even take the economy, which of a bigger interest
and
to
this
me,
is for which,
they say
which year?
For 2011. Public management of the economy, for example, we're number 26. And we're worse than Cameroon, Uganda, and Libya in terms of public management of the economy. Inflation management, they said we're number 42 in Africa in inflation management. Ratio of revenue to expenditure, we're 46. We're only better than Nigeria, Niger, Guinea, Chad, Swaziland. Ratio of budget deficit to GDP, we're number 43. That even Zimbabwe did better than us in terms of deficit to GDP. Debt management, we're number 20. So I'm saying the place where we did the best was in the judiciary and the rule of law. And says judicial independence, real independence of the judiciary, we ranked second, and we scored 87. So what brings out is that it is the same judiciary which really raised our average ranking. And it's the judiciary that is the institution that has come under the most attack from the NDC. So there it is. When you look at the general rankings, we've kept the course. But when you look into the detail, there are some worrying comparisons that are not flattering, and all of us must take note of them.
Mutala, quickly.
Could you, I don't know which one I'm looking at first.
The reports that have come out.
The two reports,
yeah.
the Moody Ibrahim and then
the Media Foundation.
I think the first and foremost, I just want to apologize to your listeners and viewers. I guess Nana Akumia pushed me into using a word that I certainly wouldn't have used, and I hope that.
Can I ask you a question?
Please.
Did you accuse? Yes, allowed me. I just want to clarify.
No, hold on.
Me and the man, we are having our.
Now let him just make his apology.
I'm asking him a question.
I'll give you some few minutes at the end of the program for us to do this.
Keep that advice after this program.
But you have agreed. Okay.
Let's go.
Don't come between me and them.
So maybe probably I hope you also apologize for that, because clearly, if you look at the kind of.
Can I ask you the question so I can apologize?
Okay, yeah, you can.
Did you ever say that Aiboafo contested as an NPP candidate?
Yes, I did.
And it's a lie?
It was rectified. Nana, can I catalogue your lies?
No, I'm just asking.
You want me to catalogue them?
I'm just asking.
There are more than millions.
Gentlemen.
What
we got on to a very good
note.
There are more than millions. We got on to a very good note. We got on to a very good note. You were making an apology so that you can move on with your point. That issue was cleared up last week.
I can catalogue them.
Go ahead.
First and foremost, I think that it's I don't think it's in good faith, clearly, because I think that probably that's why I'm just putting that. Probably he pushed me. I can see certain things, but not personally attack someone's either mother or father, and that is why I regret for that. And I hope you also regret for seeing my mother. I hope so. I think that if you look at the report, I always have a problem with it. In as much as I think that we need to encourage them to do more. How many radio stations are they monitoring? You realize the selected radio stations are being monitored. Now, to what extent are other radio stations that they do not monitor, that panelists who represent political parties on those radio stations make very dangerous statements? And that is why I'm saying that for us as a party, and as much as we welcome it, you realize somewhere last week, NDC was seen as the biggest culprit. But I personally don't think that it truly represents what actually happened in the media landscape in Ghana within each week. Because if you monitor some of the local radio stations, probably not in Accra and Kumasi, but other places, you'll be amazed the kind of language that is being used.
But in fairness, if you read the actual report, they go pretty extensive. They cover radio stations.
I'm just saying that selected. They would like 31. 31. I mean, how many radio stations do you have in Ghana?
Agreed. But like it's mentioned in all surveys, they don't usually go for the total population. But it's a bit extensive. They go way out into the hinterlands to.
Could you agree? What I'm saying is that I'm not saying that we should. That's why I said we should encourage them to do more. But I'm just looking at how reflective it is. Could you, if indeed people have made certain statements on radio one single statement on one radio station can plunge the entire nation into chaos and anarchy. Kennedy Agyapong's single statement on his radio stations, regardless whatever other statements people made, could have plunged this nation into chaos and anarchy. And when the vice president advised and encouraged people not to, they were attacking the vice president. I think that it's important we need to look at some of these issues. On the responsibility of media houses, I think that as political parties, we should have the ability to express regret as and when we make such statements. Frankly speaking, as a political party, we have a code of ethics. As NDC, it's unfortunate I didn't bring that, but I guess even Joy carried it. We had a program here, and a statement was issued detailing the code of ethics of NDC panelists. There was an instance where NDC panelists made a statement against Frances, and His Excellency the President called the gentleman and asked him to apologize to Frances on the program, and the gentleman did that. I think that leaders must, particularly leaders of various political parties, they themselves must take the lead in terms of admonition we those who represent the political parties from making such reckless and sometimes irresponsible statements. On Mole Ibrahim, it's amazing. When I listened to Nana Akumia, he talked about the visit. You realize even the president's invitation to the G8, the NDC didn't make fuss out of it.
Oh.
Please, if you can have, please, as a political party, I can quite remember.
Even yesterday.
Please, I can. Oh, you can have a panelist who will talk about it. But I'm saying that I can quite remember when we went even for communication group meeting. We decided not to pay much attention to it because this is not the first time that we haven't sat. And in any case, President Kufuor attended it 4 times in 8 years. President Mills is winning 2012 elections, but if you attend this in the 4 years, and that will be 5. I don't think that we need to.
Oh, so the invitation is coming.
No, I'm just saying that we don't need to dwell so much on it. It doesn't matter the number of G8 summit that a president attends. What is important is policies that are, and no wonder in their so far so good books. In fact, they put his President Kufuor's meeting with white men. Look at it as an achievement. Oh yes, look at it. Oh, as an achievement.
Is the caption saying that Kufuor is white man?
What's the caption there?
No, I mean, this is a very racist comment.
Please, in fairness, what's the caption there? What's the caption there? No, the caption for that photo. Then we can move away from it. We don't need to spend too much time.
Could you, please? What you are trying to do,
gentlemen,
it wouldn't work. I'm not making any racist comments.
With petty
I'm saying
issues.
Exactly.
What's the caption there? Read the caption. Let's move on.
I'll read the caption. If you read the foreword, that it's an achievement, developmental projects. And if you have
read it for us.
Okay, the forward, look at what it is. And this book was signed by the Honorable Minister for Information, then Daniel Buchi. He said that when we assumed the reins of power in January 2011, we promised, among others, to undertake vigorous infrastructure development to ensure the rapid growth of the nation. I will leave it and come and read this. That every year since we have been in office, we have published a book depicting our achievement. This year, we deviated a bit from the norm to ensure that all and sundry in society, irrespective of their educational background, is able to appreciate the development projects of the government. We have made it in pictorial form. So it means that every single thing in this is depicting infrastructure development. Yet you have President Kufuor's meeting with
white men.
Yes. Yes.
What's the caption
meeting
there?
with,
Just
with
read me the caption.
The foreign, and those things as infrastructure development.
Okay, so the caption is not white men. The caption is not white men. Let's move on. The caption is not white men. Let's move on.
So
the caption is not white men.
It's like Obroni. It's like Obroni. Hey, President.
Let's move on.
I'm saying that it doesn't matter the number of G8 summit any president. What is important is
policies. Is in here.
No,
he's a black man.
We have selected. You selected a different thing.
Let's talk about the agenda.
So I'm saying that for me, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the number of GH summit that we attend. What is important is the policy. I listened to, I think, some NGOs who are demanding that. I think Emmanuel also said that it's not just about promises that are made. Let's look at the promises exactly and see how those promises are being implemented. And for me, that should be our focus. Now, you realize that Nana Akumia talks about the Ghana's position in accountability in political terror. We haven't been told what they define political terror in it. And then he went ahead to talk about 2008. We scored 66%. 2000 now 65% to 60%. Please, I'm coming. It doesn't matter what we scored. What is important is the position. And for me, I have always said the position itself is not so much a concern to me, but whether that position has actually translated into improving the lives of the people of this country. And I have no doubt in mind. I have no doubt. If you appreciate international politics or relations, as an international relations student, I can tell you that the foreign policy of the United States of America in every elections has a significant role to play in determining who wins an election. We know this year, economy is one of the biggest issues. The 2008 elections, to the extent that the American government would invite an African leader to America in an election year, and he's not concerned as to whether that particular government consider issues of good governance and other economic development as an issue. It will be extremely uninformed position to assume that the American government would invite any leader in Africa to America in an elections year when he's not convinced, or international, that leader is not being convinced as doing very well in his country. So we have no doubt in mind.
A quick follow-up. Do you look at, let's say, the invitation and say that is indicative that we're improving in governance, or you look at some of the fine details of, for instance, this Mo Ibrahim report and have worries that we may honestly as a country be retrogressing in some areas?
No, I have no doubt in mind. If indeed the reports of Mo Ibrahim in other years was considered as Ghana doing well, I'm wondering why today people would want to cast doubt on whatever they say. We were told in this country that President Kufuor was even nominated to win whatever award when it was proven that there was no such nomination. You know, but I'm saying that just as we considered such reports, such ranking as very important, what is good for the goose Kojo should be good for the gander. So if you consider such reports as reports reflecting what was actually happening in Ghana, I think that we should. You see, I was not tying only the G8 invitation. I'm looking at the fact that President Mills was invited by Obama. Mind you, Obama came to Ghana. Obama could have decided to go to Kenya. I think that governance is a process. We can't just sit here and say that every success that we have achieved in this country has been success achieved entirely by the NDC. The NDC started in 1992, 2000 and lost. NPP came, they continued. Governance is a process. Now NDC came again, but it seems to me in this country that certain people didn't do anything. We have the magic. And therefore, when we are given the opportunity, this is what we're going to do. I have no doubt in mind that based on such invitation, which is seen amply by the international community, in Ghana, we now know that people are given free school uniforms. We now know that schools and the trees have been removed. They have provided them with structures. We now know that the hospitals and clinics... I'm saying that, you can still have that. That's why I said it's a process. Over 1,200 and something has been removed. We now know that roads have been built. We know that hospitals have been provided. Capitation grant has increased. So when you sit here and you think that this government is not doing well, the international community that has multinational agencies, organizations on the ground, NGOs, they have seen. And that is why we would win.
Let me hear your comments on these reports.
Well, first of all, let me say that my take on the Mo Ibrahim index is that I'm a Ghanaian. And so if anything like this comes out and Ghana is placed in a fairly decent, respectable position, I share in the joy. I think that it is something that rubs off me as a Ghanaian and every Ghanaian, unless you are that unpatriotic and what have you. So, yeah. But should we really pat ourselves on the back for where we are? I look at the index. Mauritius is #1, Cape Verde, Botswana, Seychelles, South Africa, Namibia, Ghana follows. So technically, beneath Ghana, we have Lesotho, Tunisia, and Egypt. Egypt and Tunisia, obviously because of the ripples of the Arab Spring, you can understand why they are there. Lesotho, I wouldn't really, with due respect, Lesotho is really, cannot hold a candle to Ghana in a sphere. So, looking at the people who are up and above us, what are they doing right that we are not doing right in Ghana? For instance, I mean, I know that we are going to come to a right to information bill. Perhaps if we had a Right to Information Act, maybe Ghana would have jumped 2 notches up and all those things. But Kojo, if after 62 years of independence, really, this is our level with respect to Mo Ibrahim is a private thing. He speaks to people, they speak to people, they have their researchers, people give...
We are 55.
55, sorry. People give commentary and what have you, and they go into it. So you can almost say that it has its own parochial, directions as well. But that is for research and, if you like, statistics students to go into. But Kojo, whether Mo Ibrahim or not, there are things in this country that we need to do right. And for example, let me tell you something that is very, very, very dear to my heart. There's a phenomenon developing in our criminal justice system presently. And I say this with due deference to, if you like, my colleague lawyers and all the other senior lawyers at the Attorney General's Department. A suspect is arraigned before court. We put it in the media, maybe for political, expediency. You go to court. And in this country, there's no judge, there's no court that will listen to the case of the prosecution without having the charges read, and also most of the time taking the plea of the accused person. These are done. Then that the accused is admitted to bail. They go back. Next thing is that the Attorney General's Department comes back to the court to say that they are now preparing a docket. Wow. It has happened in the Woyome case. It has happened in several other cases which are ongoing. And for me, you see, sometimes whether it is government or the state, I do not care. The point is that we belong to a Commonwealth of Nations. And our criminal jurisprudence is even received and borrowed from the UK. And so it is not law from where we borrowed it that you take an accused person to court, you go and read charges, you achieve, if you like, a purpose of getting the person put on bail. And then the next thing is that you come back and say you have no docket. The point is that our peers in the Commonwealth realm will be asking us, what kind of law are you practicing? What kind of, and these are all things that go. You see, they read the papers. They read the papers, they do content analysis, they speak to people. How we are treated. The judiciary has pushed us far on this.
What I was coming to, that in spite of that, they are perhaps one of the biggest contributors.
Of course, because you will see from some of these examples I've just given you that even in today's graphic, you have seen that on page 3, there is a report, this DSP, the Republic versus DSP Tehoda, the judge has told the Attorney General's Department that if they do not come to court on the next agenda date, he will have no other option than to decide the accused. Look at the brouhaha that followed that particular case. Narcotics, this, that. Some people were even trying to use it for political purposes and what have you. I do not want to go into that. But listen, we have a common humanity. And the fact that you have the right to bring somebody before the law doesn't mean that you can bring somebody before the law and go to sleep and not care less about what the person is doing. Because when you have the force of state arrayed against you, I mean, I haven't been in that thing before, but I've seen people lose weight. I've seen people die. Not because the state is wicked. It is just that the process is what we all know it to be. There are serious fundamental errors. And you see, the irony of the situation is that because the Attorney General's office and position is defined in the Constitution, the Attorney General does all prosecutions for and on behalf of the Republic. You do not even have the right to go and question the Attorney General. If you don't have a president who can berate and, if you like, take his Attorney General on, the Attorney General is law unto himself. And so things like the Right to Information Bill, if it had been in place right now, I would go to the Attorney General's Department and say that, why have you arraigned people before court when you don't have a docket? And I'll be obligated an answer because it is not law, it is not common sense, it is inhuman, and a gross abuse of people's rights. But it is happening. We are sitting here because it hasn't happened to any one of us or a big person. We think it is okay. But there are people in Insawam and on remand who have been done in by the very laws and, for that matter, the office of the Attorney General. And I say this without any remorse or regret because it is happening. And this is one of the things I'm going into the more
the report from the Media Foundation for West Africa. In fairness, and my attention has been drawn to an error of omission. I hadn't mentioned that in the 3 reports that had come out so far, the NDC had been fingered as topping the list on, in one of those reports, and in 2 of those reports, the MPP has been mentioned. In fairness, what would you say to the key political communicators who always tell us they take it in good faith, they'll be working with it?
I think that you would expect, people like Nana Komia and on the NDC side, whoever speaks, for them on such matters, to say that.
But are they really listening?
No. Kojo, you see, the point is that we have people within the parties who speak for the parties who have actually mounted or become unruly horses themselves. No matter what you tell them, once they are out there on their own, people's levels of intellect differ, people's emotional levels differ, people's responses and temperaments differ. So much as the parties will say whatever they want to say, just to, send a clear message out, the point is that the real danger is with the persons who represent the parties. And also, to an extent, even people who pick phones and call into programs.
Can the parties rein them in?
The parties can rein them in.
Do they really want to? You get an indication that the parties really want to rein them in?
Kojo, I want to believe that the parties, at least, even if at a very cosmetic level, they do something. They do, even if it is cosmetic, they do something. You see, the question is that it is a certain mindset, and mindsets are very different and difficult to manage and control. Because if you have Mr. Rawlings speaking and saying that the opposition are enemies, the domino effect.
Perceived.
perceived
said
or
enemies
enemies
first.
or whatever. And then you go to another side, you hear another description and all those things. The point is that we grow up in homes. Sitting on this panel, look at the banter and everything that's going on. Yeah, I mean, then you go out and then you get people who, you know, claim to support or speak for parties, and then they run haywire and say all kinds of things. You cannot achieve much with insults. You cannot achieve much with threats. The stakes are high in election 2012, admittedly. But you see, as we do and shame the political parties, I think that we should also look at shaming the platforms themselves. Because you see, what people do really is that before programs start, even this program, you put a disclaimer and say that, well, anything that anybody says here is their personal. But let me tell you, in law, that is not exculpatory. It is not enough. Yes. Because even if you say that, and yet Egbert Fable goes on and defames somebody, the person I defamed has a right to sue me and to sue the platform that I use, notwithstanding
the Media Foundation admittedly also names the platforms on which some of these things
I agree. So what is the Media Commission doing? You see, we do a lot of pretense in this country. Why do we create a constitutional body like the Media Commission and refuse to give it the power and the grit to do its work? Then let's scrap the Media Commission, because we are just wasting the taxpayers' money. And I admit that, you know, issues about liberty and press freedom and the rest. So if you go and take somebody's license to operate as a media house, you may internationally be seen as so. But why? Those Western powers who seek to crack the whip over us with respect to this Mo Ibrahim Index and the rest, do they have radio stations that preach hatred in their nations? Let us as a people come together and empower the statutory bodies that have the power. If you lose your license for even a year, and you have to go through re-registration to get a license back, you know who to invite.
You think twice next
Everybody who speaks on radio and TV in this country has a certain profile. Because every station knows that, as for this man, if you bring him, he can say that. He's a loose cannon. Be careful. So why are we pretending? Why are we pretending? Let's cut all the cackle, allow the Media Commission the powers and authority to take people's licenses, to take newspaper licenses, to take what have you. People are looking at only the broadcast media. Go and look at a section of the media, the private person, but the things that are spent out. And you know, you are a father, you are going to work, as some of us experience. Your father just goes to the traffic lights, a vendor brings a bunch of newspapers, your father pays because he's driving, he cannot read. He takes the papers and puts it at the back of the car where children are seated. And if you have precocious children, they'll read. And they are reading some of these things. And we are pretending. Now, even the focus is more on the electronic media. But the danger and the harm that a section of the print media is, I don't want to politicize and mention names, but the insults, the insults. My paper is up for scrutiny. Anybody who thinks that my paper has done anything untoward, Media Commission is there. Take me there. And I would prefer if my paper is taken out. Though my paper has never done anything. So? Oh, yes,
I have to go for a quick break, so let me be a bit unfair to you. Indulge me. Let me be a bit unfair to you. If you can wrap it up very quickly for me, and then I'll go for a quick break. Unfair to you.
Honestly, I have really prepared to deal with
27 minutes after 11 on Newsfile. The world is waiting to hear your music, and that's why MTN Hitmakers, your fast-track international recognition platform, is asking you to come in and pick up 100,000 Ghana Cedi check, including the opportunity to record your own album as well. Listen, download your MTN Hitmakers entry form from mtnplay.com.gh. Fill it out and drop it together with your music demo CD during the Musica National Tour, or send it to the nearest MTN service center or courier to MTN Hitmakers, Box 8179, 8179, Achimota here in Accra, before the 8th of June 2012. It's brought to you by MTN everywhere you go. Mr. Dwasari, while you deal with that one, Egbert alluded very much to the Right to Information Bill, which he thought was a tool that could even help us improve in our governance. Maybe while you do that, you can start off on that round for me before I come round on that final bit.
All right. Well, let me do this really quick. I wouldn't dwell too much on the Mo Ibrahim report, because of course as a nation we should just strive to improve our systems, you know, whichever government is in power. And the fact that there are other countries, or there's an organization that is interested in the welfare of the African continent and how governance systems are enhanced, you know, to ensure that citizenry get the right lifestyles and, you know, their the cost of living and other things become reasonable for them to where NDC is today. There are some people who joined NDC not because of the antecedents that started it, PNDC, June 4, and so on. But it was because the image of the PNDC had been cleansed or cleaned up. I'm putting that in quotes. The likes of Dr. Obeda Samoa, the likes of Justice Anna and Mary Grant and other people had lent some credence to that system. So it started attracting people who also thought like them. So I want to state here in this studio that as much as I still think Rawlings played a major role in my decision to become a politician, I still have a lot of respect. I am saying that he is deviating from his own principles, for which reason some of us are speaking the way we are. Because you see, you as a former president, and for that matter, the founder, as we have decided as a party to confer on you, and also the chairman of the Council of Elders. And in our local parlance, when they say Sayo, what do we say next? Unukpa bejenlu. To it, don't we have elders around? And the Sayo means that there is some semblance of a quarrel, if not a quarrel, taking place. So there's always that person who goes out to shout, Sayo, meaning that some older people should show up. So when you are sitting in that seat, it comes with some level of responsibility. And it is your duty to ensure that whatever cases or problems that emanate around, you are the one who even go in.
But isn't that exactly what he's doing? You talk about him deviating from, his principles.
Yes.
He, on the contrary, says he's always been sticking to those principles, and that the principle of moral integrity is what this government and key actors have moved away from, and says now things are being monetized, and that, the same element of corruption which he's spoken about is what is creeping in here. Some say perhaps, in fairness to the people he claims to be talking against, he should maybe mention names and give specific allegations so that people can defend themselves or be seen as guilty. If not, then perhaps he's got to tone it down. But at least on the subject of, the principle, he argues that he's still standing by those principles.
You see, Kujo, I am still NDC. And so I don't intend giving my opponents, any salvos to throw back at us. But, that's why sometimes we hold back, we restrain ourselves from saying certain things. But if we want to take issues one by one, talking about principles and all of these things, you see, I said a few days ago that when he talks about traitors or a traitor, and we are second guessing left, right, and center because we can't even identify who that traitor is, can we also conjecture that the traitor probably is standing so close to him? Can we also conjecture that? Because yes, if we want to use the word traitor and find someone to hook it onto, we can find some around. That's what I'm saying, close.
Who are those?
Well, he didn't mention names, and so I'm not under any obligation to mention
But
names.
do you think it helps the party as people keep making these comments without necessarily mentioning
No,
names
you see, listen, that's why you see, when you are sitting in public like this, because we are speaking to several millions of people, and there are things to say in public, and there are things to say indoors. So I will not push any such issue out there. But as I said, some of the issues he raised, you know, that a traitor, and I always say that an enemy versus a traitor, and I use the Jesus Christ example. Jesus Christ, before he came and till he left, and till today, his number one enemy has still been around. The traitor in his life did only one act, and that was the end. He died with it. So sometimes it is good to know who your traitor is so that you can guard against it, or guard against whatever activity he will put you into. But
is it he or she?
Well, I'm using it as generic, in generic terms.
So maybe
it could be, you know, yes.
Inanimate. Yeah.
All right. So what I'm saying is that you get to that point where you also want to find out why at this time, what is his plan? What does he want, President Rawlings? And it is clear here, or from this statement, that yes, they have plans to sever relationship with the NDC. That is how come this logo has become an issue and all of that. But before I probably end this first part,
let me just examine that. You are saying that your reading of the scenario is that the Rawlingses seek to sever, their relationship with the NDC. Isn't it just consistent with their pattern of criticizing even from within? You think that it has gotten to that point now?
Please, there are portions of the statement that are loaded with such suspicions.
Give me a few specifics.
You just played that particular portion. I don't know if I can.
Because, for instance, where he talks about one must go, he doesn't necessarily answer the question himself. He says it's something that people should ponder about.
Exactly, one must go. He is throwing it out there for people to decide who should go. Okay, so that's why I was making this whatever illustration of the enemy versus the traitor. Okay, to be honest with you, the opposition, he rightly put to the enemy side, like the opposition, he when he mentioned enemies, he referred to the opposition as the enemy. So that is clear. We know whom he is referring to when it comes to the enemy. But I'm saying that, yes, if the kinds of things we've heard and the things we know, we could sit on radio and TV and say them, okay, there will be very little President Rawlings can say and do in the party.
Quickly, before I go to Nanakumi, should the NDC as a party ignore his increasingly harsh commentary, or should the party still work towards resolving these differences?
I have said it here, I've written it down here, that members of NDC should no longer, and today will be my personal last time, if I ever join any panel and I am asked to make a comment on Rawlings or the Rawlingses, I will always say no comment, because I think the time has come for the party NDC to know that nothing can change their mind on this matter. They will never renege on their that effort to disintegrate the fortunes of the party. That is the agenda. And I said it here last week, that President Mills and the entire NDC can work hard to retain power with or without the Rawlingses. That is my position on this matter.
Now, let me bring you in. When all of this started, many, and I recall Kofi Adams at the time explaining that, President Rawlings doesn't really have anything against the Mills administration. It's just in line with his time-tried value of speaking up against wrongs, even from within. The Honorable Edu Asari suggests that it's gotten to a point where you can clearly begin to see that they intend to sever their relationship with the NDC. First, is that your reading of the situation now?
Absolutely. Let me say good morning to your cherished listeners and viewers. It's very clear on the wall that this division inside the NDC is not one of the divisions that can be papered over, and that it's going to lead to a schism, which means a much deeper division, and it's going to manifest in a direct challenge of the NDC by a breakaway NDC faction at the elections. The signs have always been there. We've gone through a period of denial, but now the NDC itself is coming to the realization that this is going to be the reality. You see, in any big organization, Kojo, you would have disagreements. Huge organizations like the NPP, like the NDC, millions of people and so on. You would have disagreements, you would have conflicts, especially in a political party during elections where people contest each other for positions and so on, and there are losers and there are winners. People will be aggrieved during the campaign period. People would say things against each other just to get votes. And after the elections and so on, there's a difficult period where there's a carryover of the situation before the elections, and so those have to be dealt with. So those are normal things in any big organization, especially political parties. But it seems to me that the conflicts and divisions in the NDC go out of the ordinary. You have a situation where divisions and conflicts have led to resignations of no less personalities than members of parliament, for example. The NDC is the only political party that has suffered members of parliament resigning from the party as a result of conflict. It's never happened to any party. Look at the hassle that people go through to go to parliament. 200, 230 people out of a population of maybe 25 million. Just 230. So the hassle that you have to go through. But you have people resigning from those positions because of conflict. And it's happening not once, but twice in just one political party. You also have a situation where conflicts have led to resignation of national executives of the party. Then you move from just resignations to a situation where people actually move away from the party and form rival political parties. It happened in 2000, where a section of the NDC, as a result of divisions and conflicts, breaking away to form a rival political party. Mr. Guzitano and his people, they formed the Reform Party. And many people will tell you that is one of the main reasons why the NDC lost the 2000 elections. There's another election year, 2012, and you have conflicts and divisions in the party, this time led by no less a personality than the founder of the party himself, who has led the party to two electoral victories in 1992, in 1996, and been president, democratic president for 8 years. This time, it is he who is leading the breakaway as a result of conflict. And like I've said to you, Kojo, the conflicts are deep. They are really schisms. If you look at the way the conflict has played out over the last 2-3 years, it gives you an appreciation of how deep that these conflicts in the NDC have taken. I'll give you a few examples of some of the ways that a conflict has manifested. You have the breakaway faction of the NDC. They group themselves under the name Fonka. Look at the things that he said. Now I'm quoting. A vote for you would spell NDC's disaster. Your best efforts is not enough. Your aptitude on the job has been appalling. This is a direct attack on the President Mills, who is the NDC, and these are coming from NDC members. They say, your mandate cannot be renewed by any prudent people, and that your reign is full of ineptitude. It is obvious that you are exploiting religion to create a false impression that you are a good man and your opponents are bad. Kunedu Ajiman Rawlings at her launch in 2011, May 2011, she said, the government has since 2009 doesn't inspire confidence or give Ghanaians any hope for the future. Let us therefore work to uproot the culture of apathy, indiscipline, and carelessness that has engulfed this country since 2009. And this was even before Wayome. At the same launch, Jerry John Rawlings, former president, founder of the NDC, he said, where we are going is going to lead to our defeat. That you may win at the Congress in Sunyani, but you will lose the national elections. It's gone on to describe the government as inept, full of greedy bastards, that they are incompetent, that the government is enveloped in darkness, that the government of the NDC is leading this country into an abyss. The President Mills is a Konongo Kaya, which means somebody who cannot do the job, but will not allow others to come and help.
So what, are they fulfilling their own prophecy? That
the government is slow and negative, is moving in the wrong direction, the government is stagnant, and it is stale. This is the founder of the NDC, not talking about NPP or C, but talking about the NDC government.
Well noted. Quick question. There are analysts who have argued that, yes, they may have said all of these things, but today, if you look at the reality, the Rawlingses are no longer that relevant within the NDC scheme of things. So they may be up to all of these comments and, even up to a grand scheme, as I'm picking from the two of you, to sever relationships with the mainline NDC and perhaps even decide to challenge them. But it may not amount to much. What do you make of that?
Before I deal with that, let me just finish painting the picture for you of how deep the schism is. A member of the NDC, or somebody who speaks for the Rawlingses, he actually accused the government of the most massive corruption, that they had stolen or set aside 90 million Ghana cedis to prosecute the primary election. And this is what he said. He said, the tapes were brought to us. We listened to these tapes. They had details of other areas, including the use of intimidation, alternative bank account details, names of persons in government, people in the castle involved in this scheme. I do not want to go into details. I do not want to inflame the situation further.
And this is coming within,
absolutely.
Okay.
And then the Rawlingses have also complained about attacks on them from the NDC. Remember this $5 million was purported to have been paid to them, and people were saying, we've paid you this money and you haven't done anything with it and you're accusing us. They came out and said that there were lies and fabrications. You remember that they reached their residence, which got burnt. As we speak, 2 years down the line, there doesn't seem to be any significant way forward.
You've painted that picture.
They have also described, according to the Funka people, they've described Jerry Rawlings as a barking dog in the whole same party. And Kunedu has said that the insults they have suffered from their own party.
I get the point now.
So
I get the
now
point. You've painted a picture, but my question is, does this set of activities amount to much? As some have suggested, really, it won't amount to much.
Well, we wouldn't know as we speak. But in 2000, and that's why I wanted to paint the picture for you. This same divisions and conflicts led to a breakaway called the Reform Party. And I've said to you that many people will tell you that is one of the reasons why the NDC lost the 2000 elections. This time, 2012, 12 years after the reform, you have not an operative of the NDC, but the founder himself leading the breakaway. Now, somebody may say to you, in direct answer to your question, that if the Reform Party had that effect on the NDC in 2000, then the breakaway by the founder himself could have even more significant effect on the NDC. But you see, for me, the Rawlingses and their group have not just spoken about their disenchantment and deep disappointment in the government of the NDC. They have actually moved to do something about it. And for the first time in the Fourth Republic, a sitting president was subject to a challenge from his own party at the primary. It has never happened, but it happened. And they had lots of followers. And they would tell you that they lost because the electoral system that is in the NDC now is wired to the incumbency, that the president of the country by the NDC constitution appoints a lot of the people who go and vote at the primary. That is one of the reasons they gave for their loss. So they believe that they still, outside the electoral college of the NDC, have a lot of support. Now, going forward into 2012, Mrs. Rawlings was once asked by your own station, I believe, whether she would contest. She answered every question with, confidence and assurance. When that question came, she said, that is for the future. As we speak, they have gone and registered the NDC logo. The NDC has been using this logo since 1992. 18 years later, a sitting executive member, Mrs. Kunedu Ajiman Rawlings, goes to register the logo. As we speak, there are T-shirts of Kunedu Ajiman Rawlings. We hear that some of them, posters have been printed abroad. So the writing is very clear on the wall that they are going to contest.
And for you are not able to tell whether if indeed they challenge the president, it would amount to much.
I have said to you that looking at what the reform achieved in 2000, a breakaway of the reform, if that can be a factor in the loss, then a breakaway by no less a personality than Jerry Rawlings may have a big... My conclusion on this matter is that you have a situation where the government claims that they have brought a better Ghana, or they are engaged in a better Ghana agenda. And you have this challenge coming from within the party. It's very clear then that inside the NDC itself, there is a chunk of supporters. And these are not just ordinary supporters. That chunk of supporters include no less personalities than the founder and other people who do not believe that there is any better agenda being offered to the people of this country. What they have said is that rather what is being offered to the people of this country is inept government, greedy bastards, incompetence and darkness and negativity being imposed on the people of Ghana. So all of us must take note if this is coming from the founder.
Mutala, my guys seem to think that the writing is clearly on the wall, and Mr. Duasari suggests that it's about time that the party began to, accept that, maybe, ignore the Rawlingses and move on to take its fate into its own hands.
I think anybody, first and foremost, good morning to your viewers and listeners, and more especially the people of Nantong constituency.
Wow. Are you the one standing there?
Yes, you don't know?
He is.
I think it's important I would want to look at it in 2 or 3 different perspectives.
Yep. Go ahead.
But quickly, I think that this 90 million CD story that Nana is bringing, I think it's just like his kinky story. And I thought that he wouldn't even make mention of that.
You didn't hear it?
Please.
Oh, the man said so.
I'm
not me. I didn't say so.
Would you have the patience to listen?
We're going to have a clear conversation today. We're going to have a clear conversation today.
Mensah said it, not me.
Make your points.
I'm just repeating what you said.
Make your point. I mean, we all had the patience to listen.
No, you said I said so. I'm saying that it's not me. It's Herbert Mensah.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe you are not listening.
Okay.
I never said you said so. I said the 90 million CDs story is just as equal as your kinky story.
Okay.
It has no truth in it. It is not credible.
But there was an investigation. What happened?
Hold on. Let him make a submission. Okay. We all have room to.
I think that those who are watching and listening would know the difference. I have the patience.
Go ahead and make your point.
No, I don't.
There was an investigation. Nothing has come out.
Gentlemen, we're going to have a smooth conversation today.
I think.
Go ahead and make your point.
I think it's Nana's strategy to disturb me.
No, I can't.
Go ahead and make your point.
So I would proceed in
make your point.
So let me repeat that the 90 million story is just the same thing as his kinky story. It wasn't true. It was concocted, and there is an agenda. We know that agenda. Nana Kumia is talking about the fact that that in 2000, the difference between what happened in 2000 and what is happening in 2008 is that
2012.
Indeed, please. What is happening in 2012?
I'm happy.
Nana, please.
Nana,
when you start this way, things would gradually degenerate.
One thing Nana is failing to realize is that Murtala can't.
No, you said 2008.
Nana,
please, but you mean 2012.
Nana, if that is your strategy, I'm sorry. You have failed.
Okay.
I beg you.
I think that no, he has failed already. Clearly, I'm too strong for that. And let me give you that information. So I think that you can look for different strategies to do what you want.
Yeah, but you said, oh,
don't try me with that, please. I'm sorry. I will proceed.
You've made your submission. Everybody was quiet. Everybody listened to you. Let him make his submission.
Well, I think that we should be a bit civil, to be very honest.
Go ahead.
But I'm correct.
Go ahead and make your submission.
You said,
oh, gentlemen.
Nana,
I beg your pardon. You've made your point. Hold it. Let him make his point. We'll go around it. Murtala, make your point.
First of all, that strategy wouldn't work, Nana.
Make your point.
Devise a different strategy.
Make your point, Murtala.
I'm saying that the $90 million city story is just the same thing as his Kingi story.
You've made that
point.
Which was so
embarrassing,
which
was so disgraceful, and I thought that he wouldn't have even
Make your substantive point.
He's talking about 2000 elections, the fact that Guzitano and Co. indeed left the NDC. I can't sit here and pretend that it never affected the party. But the difference between the 2000 and 2012 is that in 2000, we didn't have a member of parliament asking for the killing of some ethnic groups like in Japan, which your party celebrated and honored him. We didn't have that. So when you are doing an intellectual analysis, you need to look at the circumstances, what happened and what happened in 2000 or what will happen in 2012. Again, 2008, we had members of our party who were leaving. We had members of our party who left, and you even espoused it. You talked about the fact that some people left the party. Didn't people leave the NDC and form a political party, yet we won the 2008 elections? President Mills was described as, you claimed in Fonke's statement. Why? Didn't Nana Akufo-Addo and the MPP described President Kufuor, then Mr. Kufuor, was contesting as a rejected cassava, yet he won the election?
That's not correct.
Please.
That's not correct.
Why?
It is J.H. Mensah.
Please,
in 2008 who made that reference.
Please.
I was there.
I'm saying that didn't the NPP...
I'll come to you. I'll come to you
I'm saying that didn't the NPP... The fact that I mentioned Nana Akufo-Addo's name, please. I'm saying that didn't the NPP, J.H. Mensah, I am well aware that that statement... I am well aware that that statement was made by J.H. Mensah.
So why didn't you say
it? But please. Oh. I think that you are virtually doing what Nana is doing.
Hold it. Murtala, hold it. We are 4 minutes away from 10. Let me remind my guest of the rules, because already we are beginning to get a bit disruptive. We give everybody an opportunity to make a point. Occasionally we allow one button here and there. But when it becomes persistent and disruptive, when it becomes persistent... No, I know. I'm just laying the rules one more time. I'm laying the rules one more time. I'm laying the rules one more time. Gentlemen, I'm laying the rules one more time. We allow everybody an opportunity to speak. Occasionally, you may butt in. It's nice banter. But when it gets disruptive, I will call you to order.
I'll proceed anyway. Murtala is a very tough person. Get it very clear. If indeed Fonke's statement is now NDC statement, please. I'm saying that if indeed Fonke's statement is now NDC statement, J.H. Mensah's statement was an MPP statement. Okay, what an irony.
Proceed.
So let me just proceed on that. So I'm saying that the dynamics certainly can't be the same. And I would not sit here and pretend that if you have people who are leaving the NDC or who threaten to leave the NDC wouldn't affect the party. I wouldn't sit here and pretend. And again, if you look at the sitting president and the fact that a lot of statements have been made against him, I have a challenge with some of the positions taken by the former president and the former first lady. The reason why I have the challenge is that, like my brother said, many of us, indeed, are into politics because of some aspirations that we have taken from the former first president and the wife. I cannot sit here. I have never agreed the overthrow of Hillary Mann, and I have said this time and again. I have never agreed. I know that June 4th, I'm not a lawyer, we have a lawyer here. We have had analysis, people say that even the June 4th per the Constitution, it was something that was legal, as long as power was handed over to a democratically elected government. I have listened to people who claim that, okay, we supported it, but we never supported the overthrow of Liman. I wasn't part of the revolution. I joined the NDC, and I wasn't part of the PNDC. And I will not sit here and say that the PNDC or the NDC didn't take something from the PNDC. Some of us have been even victims of the excesses of the PNDC. In 1982, or was it 1981, the Tamale market was burnt, and I've said it. My entire family business was in the market. My father's stores, my mother's and my brothers, they were all burnt. My father never liked the PNDC or the NDC. But I have decided to like the NDC because I think that we have moved on. Like my brother said, some of the transformation and the fact that there were certain people who joined the party who gave the PNDC, NDC a different cloud. Now, if for 19 years...
I understand why you are in the NDC.
What
well, if you lose your wallet under a mango tree, you can't go and find it under an okra plant. You have to go back. You have to go back. You have to go back.
It's very clear. It's very clear. He sits here. Please. When I begin doing that, I guess you wouldn't prevent me from doing that. First and foremost, he claims he's a CPP. He claimed, please.
Have I spoken on this panel?
I'm saying that you claimed you are a CPP. You've spoken on several panels. But why? Aren't you doubling and doing everything with MP?
Okay, so let's get back to your point.
Don't even go there.
Let's get back to your
point. Is it
point.
that you are also going to look for a found wallet because the Puja Danko overthrew Nkrumah?
No.
Let's get back to your point. Let's get back to your point.
That same logic.
Let's get back to your point.
But I think that my time should also be looked at because this is something that is unusual. They are doing that, and if I believe that the attempt is just to disrupt me, it can't.
And that's why I'm helping you by saying, let's get back to your point.
So the point is that some of us indeed we have the aspirations. The reason why some of us decided to join the NDC was the fact that there was no way I could go with the Buza Danko tradition and the kind of policies and politics that they do. There was no way. And having had a lot of readings of Nkrumah's book, I felt that at that material moment, the only political party, and as a grown-up, the only political party I needed to identify myself with was the NDC. Now, if for 19 years, the same people who supported you today are being described as traitors, I think it's most unfortunate. If former President Rawlings is courageous enough to consistently mention the president's name, I'm wondering why he lacks that courage to mention the names of those he describes as traitors who are around the presidency. Because if the president, you can mention his name, President Mills, he did this, this is what his government is doing, and you also claim that there are traitors around him, I think that you should have that same courage to mention who those traitors are. At least the traitors will have the opportunity to defend themselves or to even comment on some of the statements you have made. And I think that probably is because he knows the demeanor of the president. He knows that he mentions his name, the president wouldn't come out and respond. Maybe, probably, I'm saying maybe, that is informing the position His Excellency, the former president, is taking with regards to who President Mills is and who are the traitors.
You think he's scared to name other people?
Well,
he doesn't look like a scared
Kojo, I'm not saying he's scared. I'm just saying that if he has the courage, he's always mentioning the name of His Excellency, the president, accusing him day in, day out. Yet he will tell us that there are traitors around him. There are people he described as greedy bastards around him. I thought that to settle this issue, he should tell us that I'm referring to these individuals. Because if you can mention the name of the president, the #1 citizen of the Republic of Ghana, yet you should be equally courageous enough to tell us that these are the traitors I'm talking about, and these are the people I describe as greedy bastards. As far as I'm concerned, many of the people around the presidency, many of them also serve in former President Rawlings' government, both the PNDC and the NDC. And I'm saying that how soon did he realize that those people were greedy bastards? For 19 years, he didn't realize that they were greedy bastards. He has now just realized that they were greedy bastards. Now, if you look at the statement, having listened to it, I have identified two things in it. And that is why when we were asking my brother about whether indeed Rawlings and Nana Konido are planning to sever their relationship with the NDC. Now, in one breath, he said that there are two traitors. And he described the MPP or the opposition because he said we have two enemies. We can't fight the two enemies at the same time. So it means that let's fight one enemy now, and then the next time we get the power or whatever, we fight the other enemy. I think that he was addressing people we would all perceive to be NDC people, at least 31st December Women Movement or supporters or those who went there. And clearly, the wish of every single NDC man is to ensure that we win the elections again. That is the wish of every single NDC man. Now, if you are now saying that we have two enemies we have to fight, we have to fight one enemy, let's get one enemy out and then fight the other enemy. You don't need anybody to tell you that he's referring to ensuring that the NDC doesn't win elections in 2012. But one thing I have to say is that the NDC, inshallah, has won the elections already. Because the good people of this country, Nana tried to talk about the fact that the better Ghana, whatever, people are seeing the tremendous changes that are happening in their lives. And I have always said that if you sit here and you think that, okay, this and this is done, someone has made this statement, and the fact that someone has made this statement, the good people of this country compared the record of the NPP in 8 years. And what Prof. Mills's government was coming to do in 4 years, at least his first term. And I have no doubt in mind that he's going to win the elections again.
Let me ask you a quick question. If you go into the archives, the Director of Operations at the Office of the President, Neil Van der Poel, has literally given a response. He says he won't allow former President Rawlings to destroy the NDC. Put that on one side. Mr. Edwasari on the other side says the party should literally ignore some of these comments and move on. What do you think should be the best approach here?
Well, what I can say, you realize that when the issue of the logo, I don't think officially the party has responded. When the issue of the logo came up.
The party says it would look at it
exactly,
and then
the op hasn't responded. You would have comments that have been made. But I'm finding it extremely difficult to comprehend how a person can avoid some of these comments being made. Assuming we are on this program, certain statements are made. Some of the statements clearly are deliberately being made by opponents. Some of them are completely fabricated with an agenda. And I don't think that you can just avoid it, because you have a responsibility to let people understand what is actually happening within the NDC. Like he said, there are many things that I can't sit here, or you don't expect me to sit here and make mention of those things. Now, if we are looking at some of the comments Rawlings is making, with the MPP and Nana and Co are rejoicing, he made dangerous statements about MPP in 2008. Now, if indeed Rawlings' statement is noun statement we should take hook, line, and sinker, let's agree. Then every single statement he made about the MPP, we take it hook, line, and sinker. But the hypocrisy is that in one breath, the MPP is seen defending Rawlings and talking about the fact that he's making this criticism. Yet they have completely forgotten the kind of statements he made about the NPP, the kind of statement he made about their candidate.
But isn't the reverse true? That if
so that's what I'm saying. That
hold on. That if in 2008 he made some statements about the MPP and your party was excited about it, then perhaps what he's saying today, if that was true, maybe should be taken as true.
I'm not saying that they should, but I'm just looking at the hypocrisy. In one breath, the statement he made about the MPP claimed they were all not true. Are you getting the point I'm making? Now, the statements he's making about NDC, please. Yes, the statement he's making about the NDC today, MPP thinks that statement is true. But could you, former President Rawlings started criticizing Prof. Mills' government 2 weeks after he was sworn in. 2 weeks. The simple question I ask is that 2 weeks when he hadn't even started appointing his ministers, on what basis was he criticizing the ND?
So you think his criticisms are unfounded and should be ignored?
Every single government
should be dealt with and responded to, like
it
how
depends.
some
There are some of the criticisms that I don't think that we need to respond to them. But there are some of the criticisms that we can't just let them go. We need to respond and let people understand, because those criticisms may be geared towards what? Deceiving people in a way. Some people would hear it and they would think that that is the whole truth. That is what is happening within the NDC. But could you tell me which particular government in this country hasn't former President Rawlings criticized? From Nkrumah till date. Every single government is being criticized. And the unfortunate thing is that it seems to me that the former President Rawlings is using himself as a standard to measure the way everybody should think. And therefore, if indeed no one toes his line, you are not doing the right thing for the NDC or within the NDC. One thing many people must also understand, we respect the former president, we take a lot of inspiration. But as long as the former president has the right to criticize the system, then people also have the right to criticize some of the critique that he makes within the party. But the impression is being created within the party as if when he criticizes NDC, no one has the right to do what? To criticize him. And I think that we need to get this thing very clear. Nobody is above the law. But as far as I know, per the good work of this government, there is no way we can't win the 2012 elections. We would win it, and would win it massively.
Egbert, yes. Does it serve the NDC's interest to, as some of its officers have done, seek to engage the Rawlings on what they consider as, blatant lies or untruths? Or would they be better off playing the Teflon Don approach, where they just keep quiet and let it pass by?
I'll come to that, particularly against the backdrop that my friend Honorable Idwasai has in the past gone on record to say that they need a mediator, between the NDs. And so I was surprised when he said, from now on, he will not even speak to that issue again. I wonder what had happened to his mediation proposal.
Can I respond?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. My reason for asking for a mediator, the mediator would at a point present a report, that this is where we are. We can't go any further. Okay, so either you go alone or you rest the issue. Okay. So science have now shown that we have gotten to that point, even without a mediator.
I see.
Okay, but having said so, let me also say that it is imperative that we actually examine critically the platform on which Mr. Rawlings made all these comments which have engaged our attention in the last few, minutes. May 15. For those who may possibly have forgotten, May 15 was a day in 1979 when Mr. Rawlings, as a young Air Force officer, attempted a coup and was actually foiled and for which he stood trial until June 4 when he was sprung out of jail. The question is, who is now saying that the 31st December Women's Movement, chaired by Mrs. Rawlings or headed by Mrs. Rawlings, is, if you like, the beginning of the basis upon which the Ghanaian woman became aware of her role in national development? I think that people who have lived in Ghana in the pre-independence and if like post-independence era, immediate post-independence era, I will tell you, there are scores of women, even dating from Yasantua, the days of Yasantua, who knew what time it was and the role women had to play in our politics. So nobody should pretend that until the advent of Nana Kredu and the DWM on Ghana's political firmament, our women did not know what they were about.
But it can't take away what she's done as well.
But I'm coming. I'm going to come there. Kojo, Mr. Rawlings, the vignette that you showed, I just saw. This was Mr. Rawlings doing his usual shtick. This is Rawlings, vintage Rawlings, as those who want to laud him will say. We've seen this haranguing and all those things. We've seen it. It's nothing. But what Mr. Rawlings was engaging on that day, if you permit me, he was just engaging romantic Gloriana. Romantic Gloriana.
What's that?
Glorifying his wife. And creating problems for the NDC. What, first of all, is not going to be the founder of the December Women's Movement. I'll tell you that the answer is no. It is just like the NDC's logo problems they are having now. The original founders of the December Women's Movement are, at least, the original founder is a lady called Cynthia Nuyama of blessed memory. She died. I don't know the circumstances in which she died. If you also know Gertrude Zakaria Ali, women like those and several unsung ones are the ones who gathered women, to become a certain vanguard for the December 31st coup, which my friend want to call a revolution. But today, where are they? It was not until later that Nana Kunedu realized the importance of what these women were doing that she came up. And as usual, she being whoever she is, decided to carry the idea and went to the Registrar General's Department to register an NGO or a company limited by guarantee called 31st December Women's Movement before we saw the likes of Cecilia Johnson, Sherry Aite, and Edith Hazel and co. come on board. So if you know how the DWM came to be identified with Nana Kunedu, you will not be surprised about also the logo situation that has developed. The question for the NDC itself, as they seek to examine this, is that we all build houses, we all commission architects and the rest. If I call an architect and I tell the architect that I want a 4-bedroom house and I want all the rooms on the east wing, the bathhouse, the bathrooms on the west wing, and an upper deck and all those things, I brought the concept. You, the architect, drew it. And so when it comes to the point, who takes credit for what has been drawn? Do you take credit for the artistic work, or you take the credit for the concept?
But now it seems to have gone even beyond the emblem.
But that's the point. But I mean, I'm just trying to help the NDC as they try to look at what to do with this logo situation. That first of all, there's a concept before it is translated into a work of art, which then becomes copyright. So at what point do you claim a logo or a concept, or if you like, an artistic work to be entirely yours? These are questions that we will need to answer. But could you, having said that, you see, we what Mr. Rawlings has said, enemy and traitor. Sometimes, you see, as a people, we just need to go deeply into ourselves, whether as Ghanaians or as Africans, to check. Mr. Rawlings, only recently, was he not in Tanzania giving a lecture on good governance and the role of the opposition? And then Mr. Rawlings comes back to Ghana, and at a function of a hijacked DWM movement, says that what? The opposition are enemies. So between that talk,
if they don't conduct themselves in a civil
forget it. The Constitution has created an opposition. And Mr. Rawlings signed that Constitution into law in January 1993. So what does he mean by approbating and reprobating? You go to Tanzania, you go and talk about the need for an opposition. You come to Ghana and you say that the opposition are enemies. And then the basis for your saying so, if you look at his statement, I mean, if you read the statement, he says that the MPP, virtually, that they killed people, they did all kinds of things. If killing people is the standard by which you can classify a political grouping as enemies, then the biggest enemy Ghana has known from the days of is Mr. Rawlings. He has killed, I won't say he has killed, but regimes he has headed has let the most blood and giving us the most corpses in this country.
But fast track
So
to 2012.
who is he
Fast
to
track
try
to
and
2012.
pontificate on enemies, killings, and what have you?
Fast track to 2012. It seems that perhaps the biggest loser in his recent comments may be his party. And now there are two different, may I say, responses from the party. There are those who want to take him on squarely, and then there are those who say...
if you look at
let him
NDC
pass.
documents, they shouldn't pretend. If you look at NDC documents, they have said how useful Mr. Rawlings is as an electoral tool. They have put it in their own documents. And their problem is how to micromanage Mr. Rawlings so that if chances are they can use him during an election. Today, some of them sit here and say, well, it's about time they parted company. In fact, in Bible speak, just when Jesus sent his disciples to go and preach in homes and people, some of the disciples were asking him what they should do if they were not received. And the answer is simple. If it's time, then this should shake Mr. Rawlings off their bodies and move on.
They should part companies with him.
Please.
Nobody said on this program.
Please. Let me make my point.
No, you are making a factual incorrect statement. Nobody,
Factual incorrect.
Yes,
I
nobody
haven't
said. You said six here. You are referring to
my friend, when he made a point, could you ask him? And he was very clear that, well, if it's come to that point, I mean, so be it. Emphasis mine. Emphasis mine.
But emphasis not for anybody.
It is simple. Mr. Rawlings, in other measures, you can say that he's behaving as a child whose toy, whose baby has been taken away from him. And he's keen on getting his baby back, his toy back. If he doesn't get a toy, then he will raise hell in the house until justice is done him. The question is, Mr. Rawlings feels that most, if not all of the people in the NDC were made by him. He may be wrong. It may be wrong. But that is the kind of feeling he has. He feels, among others, that his party has been usurped and is being turned into an Nkrumah, kind of fiefdom. And he possibly sees himself as somebody who is even greater than Nkrumah. That is why when Honorable Ibrahim began his commentary with a line from that book that if you avoid stepping in the shoes of a great man, I said, my friend has made a mistake, because for me, it's an opinion anyway. But I don't think Mr. Rawlings qualifies to be called a great man because you've been president of the republic, or because you've done.
That's your view, and you are entitled to it. We are 15 minutes after 10. I need to take a very quick break. When I return, I want us to wrap up on this particular subject.
Okay, you're giving me very minimal time to speak on this matter, as compared to the time that was given to all the normal interruptions.
I'll be flipping.
I protest.
Even with the relentless interruption in my time.
Protest well noted.
With the relentless interruption in my time. You even spoke more than
Protest well noted. I'm going to go for a quick break. When I return, we'll flip it just a little bit and take some very quick comments before we move to our next subject. Is the NPP as a party vigorously campaigning with an alternate agenda on the table, or hoping that Mr. Rawlings will rip his party apart so that they win? I want to take quick comments from my guest on that subject, and then we'll deal with our second subject. Newsfile. I'm just going to give my guests 5 minutes each to quickly comment on this, and then we'll move to our next subject. There are those who say that, okay, it's beginning to appear as though the NPP as a party is not putting out an alternate government agenda. It's not championing its own course. It's just waiting for Mr. Rawlings and perhaps some internal squabbles in the NDC to eat up the party so that they can ride that wave to power. Let me quickly start from Egbert, who ended the last session, and then I'll come this way before we move to our next subject. Is that what you glean, Mr. Fable?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I think that from where I sit and from what I know, the NPP is doing what every responsible opposition should do. And I'm not sure that someone like Mr. Rawlings would be happy with such a comment in the light of his previous lecture in Tanzania. But what do you expect from the NPP? That it should sit back and take advantage of, if you like, the dissonance levels in the NDC? I think that the NPP is running its campaign on issues. I mean, if you look at what Dr. Bawumia, is recently known to have done with respect to the economy, his address on the state of the economy and all. I mean, if you have a government that is focused on national, if you like, cohesion and also rapid national economic development, why? Yes, you can let your communicators go out and be saying what they are saying, but in your back rooms, you will be taking the script and looking at it and then say that, well, here he has a point. Here we disagree. Okay, if you have a point here, let's work with it. That is what the responsible.
Those who look at even Dr. Bawumia and say that was just a list of criticisms. He didn't even offer alternatives.
But of course, he was saying
that they are looking for an alternate agenda.
But the focus of his lecture was on the state of the economy. And the party, I have heard officials say that, at least within their manifesto, they will be coming out with solutions. I mean, this was just a lecture, a 2-3 hour lecture. You cannot expect economic gurus to just give you everything in 3 hours. But that is also at another level. I think that every opposition in this nation is worth its name and time and everything. And beyond, if you like, the cacophony that we all see and sometimes allow ourselves to get into as opposition parties, beyond that, what really should the NPP do?
The CPP, for instance, used to, until recently, have a monthly alternate governance paper. One of their spokespersons will speak, tackle the landscape with an alternate policy, trying to engineer a bit of a debate. The NPP could do that, don't you agree?
The NPP could do that, but I think that, I mean, tactically and if you like, politically speaking, the NPP is streets ahead of the CPP. I regret to say it, but that is the reality, and it is even a mismatch to actually, try and put the two together and say that the NPP can do that, because the NPP has a larger and bigger platform where it really articulates it. The CPP is virtually, technically, struggling sometimes to even have itself heard. I mean, and oftentimes, and I'll say for the CPP, bigger platforms like this, where's the CPP representation? And it's not that Joy FM or multimedia has done anything wrong. But I mean, the media in general.
You are CPP,
no, he claimed to be.
Well, he should produce my CPP.
You said it
several. Are you not?
I have never been a member of the CPP.
I
have never been a member of the CPP.
Oh, but you said it on radio.
I have never been a member of the CPP. I've had it tactically and technically put out that I have been a foundational Nkrumahist.
No, but you claimed.
I believe in Kwame Nkrumah and his ideas. But as for membership of a political party, I challenge anybody who says that I've been a member of the CPP to produce my CPP membership card.
So, in essence, Mr. Fable, you don't share the view of those who say that, listen, instead of, let's say, over relying on Woyome or Rawlings to disintegrate the NDC, the MPP should be, going out there and to be seen to be a government in waiting, if indeed they want to put up a good showing in 2012. You don't share that view?
I don't share that view at all. Though Woyome, for example, is important. In fact, the issue of Woyome alone should be able to decide the next election, because heads or tail, Kojo, heads or tail, if it turns out that the monies were paid to Mr. Woyome without cabinet and, for that matter, executive approval, then you see, as a collective, they have a problem into the future. And you see, those who are handling the Woyome issue the way they are handling, which has resulted in all kinds of, they should be mindful of something. Governments come and go, but parties remain. And the NDC will always, as a party that will remain, have questions to answer about how this Woyome thing was done under the government of President Mills. And this, I'm saying this as a Ghanaian, not as if like a politically parochial Ghanaian, as my friend wants, to be put. It is a serious matter.
Let me hear you on this one.
Let me see. If you stop flirting with the NPP, I believe that. Please.
Did you come here to come and talk about my flirtations with politics?
I listen to you, and I'm surprised today. You sit here.
I'm a Ghanaian. I vote.
I listen to you, and I'm surprised you sit here denying. You stated clearly that you are a member of the CPP.
Where did I say that? Where?
Look, I enjoy listening to you and watching you.
Where did I say that?
You said that, but
anyway,
I don't know why
you are trying to make me focus of your submissions.
I challenge you to strict proof. He's challenging you to strict proof. You have just 5 minutes.
He's a member of the NPP.
He's challenging you to strict proof. You have just 5 minutes. Quickly, make your point. Quickly, make your point.
Who is an NDC parliamentary candidate?
And who is CPP who is pretending to be
MPP? I don't need to talk my... Mr. Fable, hold it.
Who is MPP pretending to be CPP?
Make your point, Fable.
I think he's good.
He's taking over from...
No, he's talking about the fact that the NDC as a collective would have the responsibility, and that he would be surprised if the Woyome issue doesn't determine the outcome of the elections. I thought in the same vein, Kennedy Japan's call for guns and others to be killed would also determine the elections. And MPP as a collective should also be part. And I think that this choose and pick doesn't help. In one breath, one thing can affect the NDC. In another breath, something they celebrated, they had pop and pageantry, they had a party, they likened Kennedy Japan to Jesus Christ on Asempa, and he will sit here and he will tell me that one wouldn't affect it. It's amazing.
I don't know if Egbert Fable
please.
Egbert, make your point. Speak to the issue.
So I'm saying that it's indeed...
He's failing the exam.
Please.
He's failing the
exam. Well, you determine that way.
You're allowed to butt in once or twice.
As long as I don't please you and your MPP, I'm failing the exam.
Stick to the argument.
You are failing the exam.
Yes, stick to the argument.
People are listening to you. They want to hear analysis.
You haven't made any analysis.
Gentlemen.
So I'm saying that clearly.
Let me say it one more time. We allow buttons, but let's not make that the norm.
He made references to the fact that the MPP as opposition is doing what opposition parties should do, and he made references to Dr. Baumier's the paper he presented on the economy, I thought it was a disaster because he stated certain things in it that they were factually incorrect. He said that the NPP built a university, which was not true. He said that the NPP built a stadium in Cape Coast, which was not true. In his analysis of inflation, he takes 1 month, a particular month of 2000, and then when the basic economic analysis, if you want to analyze inflation, if I take January 2010 and I want to compare it with 2011, I would have to take January 2011. He would take January 2010 and take December 2011. I think that was a disaster. And we are told that paper was he didn't write it because it was amazing that someone who is described as an economic guru would present that paper.
Told by who?
We can provide even that when he was rehearsing it. I can tell you that.
Okay, can I challenge you to that?
Well, I have the discretion to do that, but you can challenge me.
Can I challenge you? Hold it. Again, I keep telling you that we do these discussions.
This is defamation.
Hold it.
You think so?
Hold it. We have these discussions for the benefit of our audiences. You have said Mr. Bawumia didn't write that speech. And I'm asking you, can I challenge you that to strict proof?
Kojo, you can challenge me to strict proof. I'm telling you that. And I'm saying that even it's amazing that someone who is an economic guru will present such a paper.
You're not answering my question.
Yes, you can challenge me. I'm saying that you can challenge me to that proof.
You can provide me some evidence of that?
Yes, I can provide it.
Super. So next week we will report to
Kojo,
relax.
Please.
Relax.
Kojo, you are asking me a question.
Relax.
Can I answer it?
Take your time.
Okay.
Take your time.
Okay.
We're not shouting at viewers and listeners. Take your time. You are saying you can supply us with some evidence to that statement you've made. So next week we can inform our viewers and our listeners that let me finish my question.
Finish.
Next week, we can inform our viewers and our listeners that this is the evidence you've brought to show that Mr. Bawumia didn't write that.
Kojo, can I also tell you something? I can provide you with the tape. You listen to it, but I will decide to tell you not to play it. And then you should be able to tell viewers that you have listened to it. There is a reason why I say that I'll provide it to you. You listen to it and you confirm.
So you will provide me a tape.
You listen to it, but I wouldn't want it to be played for a reason.
Clarity. You will provide me a tape that backs your claim.
Yes. And you would have to tell viewers that I'll provide you with that. And I'm saying that even if indeed someone who is an economic guru, a doctor in economics, as they claim he salvaged the economy of Zimbabwe, and I'm saying that that's simple analysis. I am not an economist. And I'm saying that basic economic analysis, if you're analyzing inflation, you don't take January of 2010 and take December of 2011. It doesn't happen anywhere. And in any case, cement, which was also factored in, which statement he made, has never been one of the 244 items that they use to determine inflation in this country. So these are the questions we ask him.
And so you share the view by those who say that the NPP doesn't.
What I'm just telling you is that the NPP thinks that they can win elections based on Wyoming. They think they can win elections based on the criticism that Rawlings is making. And I'm saying that on that same vein, they should also know that they have lost the elections already because Kennedy at Japan has called for the killing of guns and others.
Yes, it's such a difficult situation.
Absolutely.
5 minutes, 5 minutes.
Kojo, I mean, here is Muntala, my friend. He is accusing double man Egbert Fable that he had to barge into Egbert Fable's presentation because Egbert Fable was making a factually correct statement. And yet when Muntala was making a factually incorrect statement, and we battered him. He was crying for his mother.
Which is? And he was crying for your grandfather.
He wasn't crying for his mother.
He was crying for his grandfather.
Gentlemen.
What you are doing now, you are crying for your grandfather and your grandmother.
That gets us out of steam.
He wasn't crying for your grandmother. He's
I'm calling you to order, you are still repeating it. Take it easy.
Let me down that with other people. You can't do that with me. Get it very clear. You are crying for your great-grandmother and your grandmother. I'm telling you that. Please. Be civil in your language.
Okay, you know what? Nana, hold it. 32 minutes after 10. Let's take a quick break. I need to speak to my guest. We'll come back. I'll come back. I need to speak to my guest. We'll come back. 36 minutes after 10 a.m. My guest have in the last few minutes used some language. It may not in itself be insulting, but it can be interpreted as insult. It may lead us down the spiral. I've had a conversation with them that let's desist from that language and use language that we can all be comfortable with. And then I was asking whether the NPP is getting caught in the web of not putting out an alternate agenda and just hoping the NDC will do itself in.
Yeah, before I'll just deal with that. Now I'm saying that my brother Muntala, he is complaining that somebody made a factually incorrect statement, so he battered him. And when he made a factually incorrect statement and we battered him, he was complaining. The hypocrisy. Now, this business about 19 million, it was made by Herbert Mensah. They said they were going to investigate that it was not true. They would investigate national security as we speak. And then 1 year down the line, the Woyomi story broke out. And the Woyomi payments, as outlined by the Auditor General, the letters from the Ministry of Finance, total about 90 million. Then they came out and said that, oh, the first 41 that was reported in the Auditor General is wrong. But when you take the Auditor General and you take the payments from the Ministry of Finance, it all comes to about 90 million Ghana cedis. Same as Herbert Mensah had mentioned 1 year earlier. And they said they were going to investigate.
That you are over-relying on those things. Your party should be seen to be a government in waiting if really you want to win the 2012
I'll deal with that.
election.
I'll deal with that, don't worry. Now, this KK business that Murtala was happily going on. You see, it was a survey done by GNA, reported on GBC Radio on 20th February 2012. And it was confirmed by the research department of the Ministry of Agriculture. They haven't dealt with those. This year, they are importing 40,000 tons of maize. This year alone. So let them go on. Because these things, you cannot hold them down. These are the realities of the market. As we speak, cement, they say cement is not part of the basket. It shows a complete misunderstanding of what inflation is. Inflation is not mentioning every single item. It says it has 240 items. It is telling you the general level of prices. So you don't even need the item to be in the basket. As we speak.
But where is the MPP's alternate agenda?
I'll deal with it. Just give me 3 minutes. As we speak, cement alone is 2 cities.
And it's fine for you to go on that point. But you see, the criticism is that the MPP takes too much excitement.
I know. I've said to give me 3 minutes. I'll deal with it.
You have 5 minutes in all. We've used about a minute and a half, almost 2. But my point, and I need you to address this point, the criticism is that it's one thing criticizing the government and talking about what Mr. Rawlings is doing or Woyomi has done or Nana Akufo-Addo has done. But if people will vote for the MPP, they want to see and hear an alternate agenda that convinces them that you can do a better job.
Now, they say that Rawlings has made negative comments about the MPP. When Rawlings was making the negative comments, they were cheering him on. Why are they now condemning him? Calling him all kinds of names, like my two brothers here have done.
What name?
And in any case,
what name have you
in any case, in any case, well, in any case,
you tell us what we said.
You were condemning Rawlings.
No, what did we say?
Oh, you said you don't understand why he's making this.
So that's condemnation.
Well, you were praising him.
No, calling names.
Anyway,
That's exactly condemnation.
Be fair to me, I think.
Now, as for Jerry Rawlings and NPP, he's our political opponent. We expect him to criticize us, whether in government or whether in opposition. We don't have a problem with that. But as we speak, he is criticizing and condemning his own party. Can't anybody see the difference?
And you have 2.5 minutes. You haven't answered my question.
No problem. I'll deal with it. Because all kinds of statements were made about Bawumia, but you're not giving me the time to.
You have 2.5 minutes.
Now, what is the motive of Rawlings? Because that's what we are talking about. That what is Rawlings going to gain from condemning and asking people to move away from the NDC? What is it going to gain? You see, for me, that is the issue. If he was talking about or against the NPP, I can understand, because his motive is to make sure his party comes to power. But if he's attacking the NDC and calling on Ghanaians to reject the NDC, what is his motive? And that is what the people should understand and answer. As for the NPP, and brother, when our manifesto comes out,
when is it going to come out?
It is. We hope that by end of August it should be ready to come out. But already we've been giving Ghanaians snippets of it. We've talked about the free secondary school that will bring to Ghanaians. 2 days ago, the presidential candidate was talking about the setting up of a special fund to deal with inner city problems, so that inner city problems will be raised to the level of a certain level higher than it is now, by setting up a fund that will deal with inner city. These are all issues that we'll present to Ghanaians. And we believe that when the manifesto is ready and presented to Ghanaians, they would have no doubt in their minds that this is going to be a far, far better party.
6-7 months to an election, isn't it late already
us to
have a full manifesto so that we can possibly start interrogating it from a party that wants us to believe it's a government?
We have decided that August is the best time to launch our manifesto, and I'm sure you would hear a lot about it. Now, this business about Rawlings hasn't named people, you should name you know, when he was talking about the NDC, he was very firm. He said that these are traitors. These days, when he talks about the NPP, he says perceived enemies. Now, the thing is that what is the motive of a founder of a political party? Why would he be talking against his own party? What is the motive? If he didn't feel deep down that this party was not worth
Mr. Drasa, let me bring you in. You think the NPP is
just one second
caught in this rap? Quickly.
Look, this Muntala is here accusing Bawumia of not writing his own cutting. That Bawumia could not write his own presentation.
He says he'll give us a tape to prove that.
No, but how can he make that claim here on the program? That Bawumia is not capable of writing his own statement.
Who says he's not
He
capable?
says he'll give us a tape to prove that. 43
that
minutes.
he didn't write it.
After 10.
Can you imagine?
Mr. Dwasari, let me hear you. Let me hear you. Mr.
Economic group will write that.
Let me hear you, Mr. Dwasari.
He couldn't write it.
Let me hear you, Mr. Dwasari. It's okay. The button wants to talk. Mr. Dwasari, let me hear you. Let me hear you, Mr. Dwasari.
Yeah, but before I address you.
You can call me boy. You nearly call me this boy. Gentleman. Old man.
Mr. Dwasari.
Yes. Before I attempt to deal with the issue you raised, I will try to conclude with the...
All within 5 minutes.
Yes, I will try.
Because the other things...
Yeah, my point, or the point I want to make about President Rawlings is that all indications or whatever he's doing is in pointing to that indication that he never mentored anybody to succeed him. Okay, because if at this point in his career, former president, head of state, and all of that, chaired ECOWAS, you know, on so many occasions and all of that, I expect that at least at this point, he should have been able to mentor somebody to take over from him. And as the Bible says, that a good father is one that leaves an inheritance for his children and his children's children. So I believe that where we have reached, if there was no successor, if he didn't fashion out any successor, and the party is trying to create leaders, he should put his support behind us, and then we can go ahead. And before I end that session, there is one other law I want to quote from the book.
Law number
36.
36, okay.
And that is to buttress the point I made, which Ebert commented on. It says what? Disdain things you cannot have. Ignoring them is the best revenge. And it says here, by acknowledging a petty problem, you give it existence and credibility. The more attention you pay an enemy, and this one, it wouldn't sound like what I would have loved to, the word I would have loved, but it's here. So the stronger you make him, and a small mistake is often made worse and more visible when you try to fix it. It is sometimes best to leave things alone. If there is something you want but cannot have, show contempt for it. The less interest you reveal, the more superior you seem. And for me, I think if we learned to do things along these lines as a party, it may help. Then back to this issue. You see, you tried
and now you have just
so
about
much.
A little over a minute to finish this one.
Try so much to get Nana to comment on the NPP's focus, what they are coming with.
I did.
Okay, he talked about free education, and we have said they have not been able to tell us which component of education is going to be free, because as we speak, tuition is free, which is what other countries they always refer to, refer to as
this free basic education. Level.
Sorry,
basic school tuition is free. Yeah. So children. Anyway, you go on.
Okay, and they are talking about SHS and all of that. So listen. We are saying that, yes, they are becoming opportunists, trying to take advantage of a bad situation, okay, to ride onto. But at the same time, as I have said it, the more they think the NDC is becoming bad in the eyes of Ghanaians, the worse they perform. Okay, so yes, NDC is bad, but they are worse. They keep messing up at that level. So certainly the gap is still there, and Ghanaians
So what? The Ghanaian electorate has to choose between We're 47 minutes after 10. Gentlemen, thank you for your thoughts so far. Let me just remind our listeners that Newsfile is brought to you by Deaf Travel. Life becomes easier and much less stressful with the all-new Deaf Travel living. Beautiful and affordable homes using the 18 years of tried and tested expertise. They have introduced the first ever master plan community of its kind here in Ghana. Their homeowners in the last 3 to 4 years know that the value of the property is literally doubled. So give them a call and go check out their property, 0302-810-275-7, or visit the website, deftraco.com.gh. That's your ultimate dream brought home to reality. And MTN is giving you some fantastic prizes. Did you know that you could win up to 10,000 Ghana cedis cash a day? People are winning. You could win too. You could also win one of the 2 brand new Hyundai iX35 vehicles, or the 3-bedroom estate house from UT Properties at the end of the 3rd month. That's the grand prize. How do you win? You just send a text with the word WIN, W-I-N, to short code 2020. It's brought to you by MTN. Everywhere you go. Let me read some of your texts coming through on our first discussion, and then we'll move on to our second subject. A couple of reports came through this week that we want to consider. Zach from Takwa says, instead of the members of the NDC to listen to Mr. Rawlings and make corrections, they rather see him as an enemy. Kojo says, JJ did so much for the NDC, but they lost the 2000 election, so the NDC must take a cue from that. The government is performing, but if we continue with the insults and we do not unite, we might lose again. Abuba from Tamale says, Mr. and Mrs. Rawlings should come out now with the party they want us to vote for. It's long overdue. President Mills and his group cannot solve our problems for us. Perry, listening to us in China, says the NDC should pay heed to President Rawlings' comments because you can't pitch war against him. He has been in politics for far too long. Ata Imoro from Wulensi says, Ms. Rawlings spoke out of pain. He's still hurt. The rank and file of the party must rethink their decision to cut the founder off. We do not want to regain power from them in the coming election with excuses. God bless Nanado and Ghana's democracy. Henry from Sogakope says, it's my candid opinion that the earlier the NDC resolves their differences, the better it will be for the country, although what is happening is good for the internal democracy of the party. After all, we have freedom of expression enshrined in our Republican Constitution. The political landscape is becoming interesting. Babadam from Cape Coast says, Rawlings himself has miserably failed the probity and accountability test. The Rawlings is telling us they are wiser and more intelligent than all Ghanaians. In fact, the time has come for us to tell them boldly that they have failed. Abdul Majid from Town Council Line says, President Rawlings' criticism of his own party is just an issue of, quote, the chickens coming home to roost. Okujeto and others came out to explain what Rawlings meant when he did say him to Kufuor a few years back. Now they're asking him to come out and explain himself. God save Ghana. Mancha Bruce in Takrady says, who is a traitor? Others indeed may talk, write and fight for liberty in pretense, but the free thinker alone is truly free. The NDC is already in tatters. Final set of comments. Audu from WA says, what Rawlings calls the truth and what values, what does Rawlings call the truth and what values did he leave after 19 years in power? This is Newsfile. We're 10 minutes away from 11. In the week gone by, a number of reports came out. First was the Mo Ibrahim African Governance Index. For the second year running, Ghana was ranked 7th, the 7th best governed country in Africa, scoring 66 out of 100 marks and coming after Namibia. Also this week, there was the report by the Media Foundation for West Africa, which for the second time in about 3 or 4 weeks so far, fingers the NPP for using unsavory language in our political discourse. A few questions fall out as we do our analysis. First of all, should we pat ourselves on the back for a job well done in governance? We've been 7th for 2 years now. Or should we be worried that maybe it is indicative that we are no longer making progress when it comes to continuous improvement in governance? It doesn't mean we are bad, but if we're climbing and we've been at 7th for 2 years in a row, maybe we are no longer making progress. I'll let my guests have their say on it. And what does it mean if the MPP says they take the report in good faith, they would listen to it and apply it, if they still come in for criticism? I will start with Nana Komia, the communications director, who's just to my left. The 2 reports have come out. What do you make of them?
Which one? Both of them at the same time?
Both of them. Let's deal with the reports together.
Okay. Thank you, Pedro. report about
You can start off with
the radio monitoring.
Yes, you can start off with that one. That's your party's report. For the second time, you've come in for flat. You keep saying you will listen and take it in good step, but
well, I
haven't.
I don't know when the change was made, because this wasn't part of the original topics, and actually I haven't read the second report from this, so I haven't actually commented on it. But essentially, the institution that does the monitoring, I think it's the Media Foundation also.
For West Africa.
West Africa. They are doing this work, I think, in an effort to make sure that the airwaves are sanitized. We believe that they are a credible institution. We don't have anything against them. So if they come out and say that our people, and mind you, they are not saying that the NPP or one party is insulting. They say that in terms of the counting.
You top the list.
Yeah, they have. So it means that it is still an issue in our political discourse from all sides, and that when you do the count, one party seems to have done more than the other. But what it means is that it's still an issue that we must deal with. And what they are doing is to make sure that this issue is dealt with, or at least is minimized in our political discourse. So we support them. We support the work they are doing. And if they have given instances where, especially of the words, and we're happy with it. We will take note of it and keep improving. And we are sure that the other parties too will be doing the same to try and cut down the amount of inappropriate words in our political discourse. So we're happy with it.
A quick follow-up on that one. What does it mean? I mean, does it really mean much if, twice you come in for criticism and you say we'll listen and we'll do better, but, you've still done it?
It's not you've still done it. It's saying that every party is engaged in it. One party today has scored higher. The next week it will be another party. You understand what I'm saying? They are not saying that this party engages in this. They say that it engages in it more than the other. So it means that all the other parties too have been engaged in it. I'm trying to look for the original report to quote some of the words that they use. For me, I'm happy they state the comments, because once they state the comments, then it gives you the chance to actually look at the specific comments and bring it to the attention of everybody that, look, this group who are doing this work believe that this kind of comments may not be appropriate. I mean, of course, everybody can defend it and say, well, I use these comments in this context because somebody has said this and somebody has said it. But we're not interested in that. We want to be part of the effort to sanitize the political discourse. And we hope that the other parties too. And you see, because it's a weekly thing, tomorrow it could be another party, the NDC or the CPP. And, we hope that they will take it in stride and try and make everybody should be talking to themselves, especially when they give, because it didn't say that you've stopped. It says that as far as the counting is concerned. So
they are doing less than you are.
They are doing less, but you're also doing it. We would like to see which stations, because sometimes the platform also matters.